Our Torah reading this week, the portion Ekev, presents us at both the beginning and the end of the portion the traditional theology of God's intervention in our lives today. As Moses presents to the people the argument for following the covenant, Moses says, both at the beginning and the end of the portion, if you follow in God's ways, then at the beginning of the portion, he says the land of Israel will be flowing with milk and honey. Or at the end of the portion, if you follow the covenant, then you will be blessed with rain falling at the right time so that the crops will benefit and you'll have a bountiful harvest. But if you neglect God's ways, then the land of Israel will be the opposite of flowing with milk and honey, and the rain will not come at the right time, and we will suffer as a result. It presents to modern readers like ourselves this challenge because we know from personal experience that things do happen in our lives. And if we attribute everything that happens to God in our lives, especially the bad things that happen to us, how is that supposed to inspire further belief and commitment to God? It's one thing to attribute blessings in our lives to God. That's easy, and we could be grateful to God for weddings and bar mitzvahs, etc. But God forbid, when tragedy strikes us, if we attribute that to God as well, how is that supposed to inspire faith in the same way that blessings do? And that's the age-old conundrum that the rabbis faced and traditionalists have faced throughout the ages. The rabbis answer it that the more righteous we are, the more we are able to withstand crisis in our lives, and we can understand it as if it is God testing us for our faith. That's the only way the rabbis can understand it, and they also say God's ways are mysterious. Who are we to question God? But there is another approach. Instead of understanding the Torah literally, as if God actually is doing these things in our lives every single moment of our days, we could see it as if God is doing this. And that as if adds a level of distance between what God does and how we understand God acting in our lives. If we have blessings in our lives, then we should thank God for as if He had brought that onto us. And if there is crisis in our lives, God forbid, then we say that it could be, how do we understand the crisis? Do we understand it as God's involvement in causing it to happen? Or do we understand it as a test that we need to be able to withstand? What are the resources we're going to find to withstand the crisis in our lives? And so the portion presents us this theological understanding, and it is up to us to find that relationship with God that inspires the most meaning for us today. Shabbat Shalom.